and welcome back to another episode of Get Celebritized. I'm your host, Aurea McGarry, and I bring you the most amazing people on the planet that are helping people like you, entrepreneurs like yourself, earn more so you can live more, live big, live amazing lives, and so you can give back more to the causes and people that matter to you most. So without any further ado, I have a phenomenal guest here today who I've recently just met and become a part of his business in a very special way. We're going to talk about that today. He is coming live from Boca Raton, Florida, the founder of the new app. It's called the Owwll app. You're going to learn all about it in just a minute. It is exciting. It's a way you can earn money yourself. So don't go away. Go grab a friend. This is going to be new and exciting and something you're all going to want to hear about. He also has his own podcast. You know, I love podcasters, and it's called The Shrimp Tank. It is the #1 entrepreneur podcast in America. And Jason Hill, my guest right now, has also been featured in Forbes and in the Wall Street Journal. So let me bring him up here now right away. Jason, come on up and welcome to Get Celebritized.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to dive into the Owwll platform and how it was created and, you know, my backstory as an entrepreneur, of course.
I love all that, and I love your branding in the back. There's that Owwll app, and for the viewers or for the listeners listening on podcast, it's Owwll. So 2 W's, 2 L's. Love the owl. And I'm going to start right up with you. You got the Owwll app, you got Shrimp Tank, so we got like an animal thing going here, and I want to know more about it. But why Owl? You tell us about this Owwll app. It's a phone call type of app where people can get paid for their expertise. But tell us what it is first. I want to know a little bit about why an owl. What does that have to do with it?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, first we'll start with the name. We'll dive into that. That's an easy one. Owls are wise and intelligent. And when I was thinking about a name, you know, people, you know, want to get knowledge from others and grow their businesses or learn on a personal level. So like any business owner, I've had experience with long names and I wanted to keep it short. And I really liked the Owwll logo. I've seen it at so many universities. Drake even has an Owwll logo, and everyone just, you know, really loves putting it on T-shirts. Like I have it, got to jump up a little bit to get in the frame.
Okay, well,
I have
I
it
need
on
one of those, Jason.
my T-shirt right here, and people love wearing it, right? So I wanted to keep it simplified, so that way we could put it on merchandise and Owwll gear, and people absolutely love it. You know, we send people things all the time. We have contests. I go locally to speak at events and I give out T-shirts. And the difference with a lot of other brands, when you get the T-shirt and you throw it in the drawer and like, yeah, I'll wear it at nighttime. Like, no, Owwll shirts, like with the black and the gold lettering, you see people wearing it all the time. They post it on social media and they absolutely love the brand. So that's
really good marketing. That's what, and I'll be
Thank
expecting my T-shirt in the mail.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, I was a salesperson for a network marketing, several in the past, but one of them was Origami Owwll, and I remember what fun we had collecting owls, and we started seeing owls everywhere. We would collect them in planters, and you're right, people love to wear logos that are cool and fun, and animals are great, but we're going to touch on now the owl is wise, and that is a perfect segue to this app. And I want people to lean in right now because this owl app is like nothing I've ever seen before. When I heard about this through some of my television show hosts on how you now can get paid in a way for your expertise instead of being on the phone hours on end, giving away your expertise, your knowledge, people picking your brain. And you've kind of found this great answer, this fun answer to that situation. So talk to us about what is the Owwll app?
We're going to use myself as a real example of what happened to me in the last 24 hours. Okay.
Really? Okay.
I bought a new camera, you know, for my podcast, right? And like many people, we ask others for their opinion. We post it in Facebook groups, and then all of a sudden we get the merchandise in the mail, and what sounded easy was not so easy. The menu, all the different features, and I could not get it to work. But how cool is this? We have experts. Here's my little cell phone device. I'm going to bring it up so people could see. You have experts at your fingertips right here. And what's really unique is you could literally hit find now and choose an expertise. So all these different expertises are listed. And what's really unique is I've spoken to other podcast experts and I know that's what they do for a living. So how cool is this? I saw one of them live yesterday and I called them and I said, I just bought this Sony camera and I can't get certain things off the frame. It's not working. And they walked me through how to fix it. And when we look at, how impactful that was for my business, I was able to move on quickly, pay that individual $10, right? He was able to charge, what he felt comfortable for a price to speak with this individual for his expertise. And when we think about what are the alternatives right now, the alternative is looking at your phone and calling someone but most people don't have that specific expert in their Rolodex. 2, go to YouTube, or 3, go to Google, right? But in my case, I was able to get on the line instantly with an expert. And that's the difference with our platform. Everything else out there in the competition world is scheduling meetings with experts. And that's so old school, right? Most entrepreneurs these days just want to be able to speak to someone instantly to fix a problem for their business. Or let's get away from entrepreneurs. Everybody runs into problems, everyone, right? You could have a personal issue. For example, I spoke to a dietitian this morning for 30 minutes. And how unique is it that if I wanted to learn about, putting healthier foods in my body, she could, do a special lab test, send out in the mail, and then have a one-on-one consultation with me on Owwll and tell me specifically, hey, Jason, these are foods that you should avoid. So often people relate Owwll to business situations. I always say it's for personal or for business. We all have personal situations that are going on in our life, and we always need someone to chat with about these things. And then to piggyback all of that, it's also used as a networking tool, right? How many people just want to go to networking events locally, but that's only at a specific time frame? With Owwll, you could network 24/7, Saturday, Sunday afternoon, while you're hanging out at the pool or the beach. Imagine now whipping out your device and seeing someone like yourself on the app, right? And say, this person looks very interesting. I say, I've seen her on YouTube. I've seen her on LinkedIn. I've seen her, with this, podcast, Get Celebritized. I just want to chat and BS with her and see where it goes. And then all of a sudden, where it goes? It goes to getting an opportunity to be on your podcast, right? It goes, all of a sudden, you're collaborating to write a book together. Whatever it might be, there's an opportunity, because when two humans talk on a phone, things occur. And I think that's what we've lost today due to all the social messaging. We've gone so far to the one side, and Owwll's bringing back the good old school human connection.
And I love what you said, Jason, because now you all can go to the Owwll app, the owwll.com. When you go to the Owwll app, there'll be a video on how to use it. So we could take all day and teach you, the ins and outs how to use it. But I don't want to get into all the how-to yet. I want
Sure.
to say something that's really on the other side of this, Jason, too, if everybody's listening, because it is very simple to use. It's not complicated. But I love that you said, okay, I need help. I need an expert. You went to the Owwll app and you said they were live, which means it shows we all can schedule ourselves on this app to say, okay, I can accept phone calls for the next 2 hours or for the next 30 minutes. So us as the entrepreneur, that we want to make our time available for people to be able to pick our brain and talk to us or meet us, we put it down that we're live, which gives us permission. I can't remember the last time I picked up the phone and just said, hey, I think I'll call Jason. I think I'll call this person. Unless it's like your BFF, right? We don't just pick up the phone anymore. We don't want to disturb anybody. We, like you said, schedule appointments. So this is, it's permission. You can call me now. We set our price, whether it's $1 for 10 minutes or $99 for 10 minutes. That's a whole different side of it. But that solves the problem, Jason, that I love, that really drew me in. How many times do people just schedule? I have a free discovery call, and it's free discovery calls all the time that go from 15 minutes to 30 to an hour. By the time you're done, which is fine, you've end up doing this whole training course for an hour of your time, because we tend to do that. And then you realize, okay, that was great. But even if we still give away free and nobody ever buys from us, we're spending a lot of times people picking our brain for free. Even if you don't do business with somebody that calls you on the Owwll app, you get an instant, this is the pièce de résistance. I love this part. The minute you hang up, it gives you the prompt to give them a 5-star review. So even if you're giving your time away for $1 or $5, it's not about big cash flow for that moment, you get that rave review. And you can collect these rave reviews. That is money in the bank for your business. When somebody says, I talked to Rhea, she solved an issue. It was so great talking to her. I highly recommend her. That's worth your time, even if your time was only set for $1. And we don't get that, because how many times we talk to people and we mean to leave, oh, there you go, here I am. I love that. That is credibility right there. So it's credibility I love those star apps. And how many times have we asked people, we say on LinkedIn, there I am, that I'm my network, to leave me a review or leave a review or somebody request on LinkedIn, leave me a review. We have to remember to go back, and we mean to, but how many of us forget to do that? This is a no-brainer. The minute you hang up, you do it right then and there. It's done.
Yeah, and it's accountability, right? When I was out to eat last night with a LinkedIn creator, she posts 3-4 times a day. She gets 50,000 impressions, she told me, per week. And she said, I get 500 messages per week and a lot of offensive things, right? As a female, I know you've seen it yourself where you're like, why is this on LinkedIn? Why is someone sending me a naked photo? Why is someone saying, hey, baby, let's go out to eat? Or like, just
hey, you're
things,
pretty. Really?
Just things like that are just not appropriate in the business environment. And that review controls things, because when you're on a one-on-one audio call, people typically are going to be themselves and they don't want to get a 1-star review because that will make themselves look bad. So
get reported. You can report
people are held
too.
accountable. When you're on Zoom, there's no accountability when you do networking meetings, right? They go off to the next person to do the same thing, or they solicit that individual and they keep soliciting. Where on Owwll, if it's too solicity, right, you're going to get like, oh, this person, just came on here and just wouldn't stop trying to sell me and try to wire me money, whatever it might be. There, everyone's held accountable. You could even report the person. And it gives great boundaries because you're not sharing your cell phone number. Our app is designed where it's all in-app phone calls. And that's so powerful because there's so many careers out there. And I'll use a musician as an example. Musician does a gig, and it's someone on our team. For example, Danielle Santilli is a musician. She also works for the brand Owwll. And everyone wants to grab her phone number, right? And she, at the end, she's like, what do I do? They all want my phone number, but I don't want to miss opportunities, right? Because it goes both ways. But then it gets creepy in the text messages that she receives. So now she just says, call me on Owwll. I'd love to chat. And it's a really great way for her to control the environment. When calls come into her, she could list her price at $10, $30, and it creates great boundaries that if she's not in a comfortable position on the call, it's only 10 minutes. And it's audio only, no video, no one's showing anything inappropriate on these calls. It's 10 minutes. And nicely, if they ask for more of your time, says you could extend it, you nicely just say, sorry, I have another meeting coming up. And you never speak to that person again. If they ever try calling you, you don't pick up. No one's saying you're required to pick up these calls. You have the power at your fingertips to take calls, charge what you want, but also make outbound calls to whoever you want and list it as all experts. We're not talking one specific one. We're talking lawyers, accountants, financial service professionals, musicians, pro athletes, everything under the sun is in Owwll.
And it's really a professional thing to do as well. When you say, call me on the app, it's kind of like having your own assistant instead of saying, okay, just call me and nobody's going to call you because they don't want to disturb you or the creeps can call you. So this goes both ways where you can set your time for 10. I love you said 10 minutes. This isn't an hour call. It's not a 30-minute call. You're doing it in 10-minute increments or 10, and then you add 5 or add 10. It's such a great way to have that initial call. It's professional, and the benefits on both sides is incredible. Benefits to what you said, you needed an expert right then and there. You click on it, you search for the podcast expert. Yeah, there you go. I love it. And you're clicking on, and I'll show this too. This is
and then boom, here's a podcaster that has over 500 podcasts.
I love
He's
it.
$5, 10 minutes. And he's also a publicist. And all of a sudden you call him. And if you happen to be in Tampa, Florida, all of a sudden you could say, let's go grab a Starbucks together. It's a great call. But you have that ability to make that decision after a call. And where else can you jump on a call for $5 for someone that has 500 podcast shows to get immediate access? Access where if you're on LinkedIn or Instagram and you're like, hey, let's meet, like what happens? You send out, maybe I'll meet with them, 1 out of 10 get a yes. And then then you're, scheduling into the future, going back and forth, and so much time is wasted. Right now, you can just call them. It's worth the $5. Just call them. And
and I love we have $1 Mondays, so we all kind of follow suit with you. You're $99 for 10 minutes on a normal basis. But on Mondays from 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time, you
Yeah.
put your price down to $1 a minute. We all follow suit with that,
Yes.
whether we're, $10 or $90, doesn't matter. And we work together because you're able to meet people. You're able to talk to people on Mondays that normally wouldn't be able to spend $90 for 10 minutes. And you want to meet them, which I think is so cool.
Absolutely.
And what's also cool is you're still making calls to newbies. I mean, what founder does that? I got a call from you. It's like, welcome to the Owwll app. And you literally, want to engage with us. How's the experience? You're that type of founder that says, what's going right? Are you having any problems, any glitches? And you address them all. And it's so welcoming. It's a community already, and you've probably just gotten started. So where did this idea come from? How did you tell us a little bit about the nuts and bolts of starting this type of business? If somebody's watching, listening, saying, I want to start a business, maybe they want to start their own kind of app, and here you are being successful.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on what you said earlier, because we get a lot of people say, I just don't have time for another app. I don't have time. And I'm like, no. It saves you time, right? So you're saying, like, how is it possible that the founder can find time to call so many new people, right? Well, how about this? I drive to work every day, right? It's 30 minutes each way. I have choices in life. I could listen to music, I could listen to a podcast, or I could actually gain knowledge by speaking one-on-one to someone. So think about how powerful this tool is, that while you're driving, so many people are commuting. Swap it. You have time. It's just a matter of how you utilize your time at the end of the day. And I got the benefit to speak to a nutritionist, not a nutritionist, and a dietitian today, right? For $1, for 10 minutes. And then we spoke for the whole 30 minutes, actually. Like, that is the power. And that's why, as the founder, like, I'm like everybody else. I'm no different. I have limited time in my schedule, and I have to do the right things with that time. I'm a father with 2 young children, and everyone always says what you said, like, how is she always able to have so many calls? It's because I prioritize, my time the right way. So that's important to let everyone know, that you can use this app on a Sunday afternoon when the kids go to bed or take a nap,
right,
at the beach, at the pool. It's at your fingertips.
You know what I love about you, Jason, though, is you seem to be very hungry for knowledge, hungry to meet new people. And that's the key to great leaders and great legacies that we live to in this lifetime. Meet as many people as you can, meet interesting people, connect with people you would have never normally met, in your grocery store, at a networking event locally. You're able to tap in to knowledge in the world and build your community and just your wealth of knowledge. Instead of just always picking up a book, which is great. We all say read a good book. You're meeting people. We're all doing that now, having a 10-minute or 30-minute conversation with an interesting person. I think that's so cool. And you get to pick, like you said, the industry that they're in, nutrition, or they're an author, or they're a TV show host, or whatever. So cool.
And it's interesting, because everyone used to say, hey, to gain more knowledge, read, right? And
who has time?
And it's actually interesting, like, all we do is read anymore, right? Like, it's swiping posts, reading things on LinkedIn, reading books. And at the end of the day, it's actually, we've gotten so far from speaking. We actually have a major problem in the world right now, right? When we look at our young professionals out there that are in college, right, or high school, what do? They text mom and dad. They don't call mom and dad anymore. Mom and dad say, they don't call me. I have to communicate via text, right? And then all of a sudden, that creates problems, and it's a major concern, because all of a sudden, those social skills, your first job, you have to speak, right? You can't just text the boss, hey, I want a job here. It's like, no, you have to be on an interview, right? So if you're not learning those skills early on, it creates issues later for our world. Think about dating, right? You can't speak. It's different. You could swipe left all you want, but once you get in a real situation, you have to talk. So I do think that Owwll one day will make major impact in this world, because we're losing the ability to communicate, because we've gotten so far to text messaging or messaging through platforms. And if you think about Facebook, the original platform, why everyone loved it was the connection, like the community, that we were able to get friends that we were lost touch with, and now get them in a group, but then it's kind of, we've gotten too far
away from it.
Yeah, so going
How
to
old
your
is the Owwll app, Jason? When did you start? And
so that's where I was feeding into the question that you originally asked. Was the app came from COVID-19. I was at my office. I was driving in my car doing my podcast, and I just realized, as I was doing my podcast, how many people miss talking to one another. And we're talking March and April of 2020, right? When everyone was at home.
When it first
and
started.
and it really started. And I sat there and I was like, you know something? I was like, this is my aha moment to make impact on this world. I said, this makes no sense. I get in my car and I drive 30 minutes. I still am in the financial service industry as a financial advisor. That's how I pay for Owwll. And I've saved up a lot of money from that industry. And what ended up happening is, like, this makes no sense. I'm driving to work. Every one of my friends is at home. All my business contacts that are home, I can't call any of them. This makes no sense. If I looked at my phone and I called you, you'd be like, why is Jason Hill calling me? It's awkward.
Right.
We have actually made it awkward to call someone. Right. And that's where, like, the light bulbs went off. I go, this makes no sense. Everyone's at home. Everyone's starting businesses. Everyone needs knowledge. Everyone wants to contact each other, but no one has a way to do it. It's awkward. And I want to take the awkwardness out of that. So I called a developer that was on my podcast, The Shrimp Tank, and I said, I have this idea. I'm like, I just want to be able to talk to people on my drive to work, as an example, and build it like a platform that just says, I'm available, you're available, can we talk? Right. And
what a simple idea right there, though. What a simple idea.
That's it.
I'm available, you're available. That takes that awkwardness out of, gosh, I don't want to pick up the phone calling by them. I don't interrupt them.
Yes.
Wow, that's a great aha moment right there. Continue.
And then all I did was, I took a risk, to build an MVP, minimal viable product. You typically get, a certain amount of developers, on a Zoom meeting daily for a few weeks. Ours took 3-4 weeks to build on paper. And I had nothing. Like, I worked with this 200-person tech firm that's used to working with, like, Fortune 500 companies, marketing departments. And here I am, like, the owner did me a favor, literally. He's like, I'll do it. I'll give you a reasonable price. It was.
What was that MVP you said, though?
A minimal viable product. That's where they draw up, like, what the app would look like.
Okay.
They call them wireframes. And then they, like, the guts of it, like, behind the scenes, like, a notification would have to go out, an email would have to go out. How would they log in? What technology? What would you be required? What would the cost of the technology be? And at the end, it came out like what you see, this beautiful logo. I had no idea what the logo. They're like, for day one, they're like, what's the name? I go, no clue. When do I need that by? They're like, 48 hours. We got to build logos.
Oh
I got 100-page, packet. Most of these things cost like $5,000 to $20,000 to do them properly, because you're doing it with a lot of developers, and they're giving you all their knowledge to put it together. This is the best thing I ever spent money on. These guys.
Did you invest in it solely yourself? Did you get investors?
No, so that's where, like, you just build, like, an idea on paper to cost that much. Some people spend $50,000 on MVP, right? It just depends what you're building, of course. Right. Some people spend $2,000, right? You could hire someone on Fiverr for $1,000 to do MVP, right? In our case, we hired a high-end company to do it that has done stuff with Fortune 500 brands, as an example. And they were on my podcast, so I really felt comfortable saying, hey, can you do this? It's an idea. And honestly, I didn't know I was going to build this thing. I was like, this is a cool idea. It blew me away. I was like, this is amazing. What also blew me away was the price. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to build Owwll. To build it, not to maintain it, to build it. Would take about, they're like, it's probably going to take about, 8 months to build, to get what we have on paper built. And then they said, honestly, though, once it's built, you're going to have to market it, and then you're going to make a lot of changes, because your customers are going to tell you, hey, switch this, do that, and things you never thought of will come up. And they were 100% accurate, and it costs just as much to maintain, because you could build it, but now you have a cost for all the third-party technology, but then you have to keep building. So you have the same developers continuously helping you build the new features from what your audience is telling you. And that's why I'm so active. I literally listen to everybody and then build what everybody wants in the community.
I love that. I want to tap into your financial brain for a second and put a little pause for once. This is a really important topic.
Yes.
So many people, entrepreneurs that will watch a show, have an idea. And what stops them from putting it into fruition is this piece right here. And you are a financial advisor. You're really good in that financial work. If somebody's trying to start out an idea, maybe it's not an app, but it's anything, any business, they need their business plan. Like, okay, I've got the bells and whistles. I know what needs to be done, but they don't have the funding. Can you give a quick tip or advice if they don't have the funding, how they could get some funding into their idea to bring it to fruition?
Yeah, I love that you just asked me that question, because that's skipped over all the time. Everyone jumps over and makes it sound easy, and they only shine a light on the top 1% who got funding, figured it out, knew somebody, and that's the biggest struggle when you have an idea, right? So when I'll just use mine as an example, right? I'm 39 years old today, right? And
today?
No, not today.
I thought it was your birthday.
I'm 39 today, but turning 40 in November. My birthday's in November. Big 4-0. But I worked my tail off from 21 to 37, right around when Owwll, started being designed. I sacrificed a lot in my 20s to build my clientele in the financial service business. And often people are not willing to sacrifice, hard work, not being able to do certain things in your life to build up enough savings to live the lifestyle that they one day could have, right? Everyone wants to live for today. Who cares? Spend it. You'll make it later. But I'm a believer, like you have to, take a certain amount of your income and save it and do what you want with the other amount. That's okay. And I took a lot of risks when I was younger buying real estate. And, people saying, why are you doing that? Why are you buying in Florida? You live in New York. Why are you buying in New York? Why would you buy in that area? That place is a shithole, right? And then all of a sudden, like the shithole bloomed. It's called Long Island City, Queens, right on the waterfront of Manhattan. And the shithole in Florida, Boynton Beach, Florida. Oh, well, that also went up. And the point is like, don't listen to all the noise. Go with your intuition when it comes to, saving money. Don't follow the herd. And then when you're building your product, like when you're saying like, what about funding? It's like 99% of ideas fail because of funding.
Yeah.
Not because it's a bad idea, not because the person isn't good. It's really simple. This app costs a lot of money. I had to realize I needed a certain amount of runway to do it on my own. I was not willing to say, I'm going to build it for 6 to 8 months and then do what the typical entrepreneur mistake is, which is I'm going to show an angel investor this pitch deck and they're going to give me their money and I'm going to keep going. No.
Why is that a mistake? When people are thinking that, why is that a big mistake?
Because most angel investors hate apps. And everyone who wants to build a technology these days always wants to build an app. Right? Everyone wants to be the next Facebook, the next Clubhouse, the next Twitter, and now it's Threads. Right? Everybody says, well, if I could get this
app. It's the Owwll app. It's the Owwll app. Not
absolutely, it is. So the issue is really simple. Apps are very expensive. And when angel investors see 100 pitch decks every month, it's just like next.
Yeah.
So what happens is they end up running out of money because they build the app with a great idea. They bring it to an angel investor. VCs typically don't want to even touch that stuff until there's money coming in. And then what happens is they say, come back when you have traction. Well, let me see some money in the app. And most of these apps fail because they don't have a marketing strategy. They had an idea, but then they're not marketers. So then what happens is they don't have the Rolodex. They started this app, they blew all their money on the first design of it and thought that it would just open up. And let's look at Owwll for a second. I launched in a real environment June of 2022 with real money, right? So we're a little over a year in a full launch, right? But you've seen me build it out with brand ambassadors. We have over 50. You've seen me switch to a new podcast, the Owwll podcast, along with the Shrimp Tank. You've seen me take our guests from the podcast and put them on the Owwll app and feature them. You see me do social media posts about these experts and other experts that join. And you see me out and about doing event after event speaking to bring people into the platform. Guerrilla marketing at the end of the day. But we have a full marketing strategy and most people don't have funding for their marketing strategy. So they just build the idea and they're like, well, you don't have a marketing strategy? You think they're just going to come to the App Store and download it? And
I'm so glad you said that, Jason. That is the missing piece we talk about a lot. People launch the business and think people are going to magically show up. And they say, well, I can't afford the social media aspect or the marketing or to build it or to start a podcast to promote it. And it's like, wait, well, then why have it if you have no marketing money or
correct
strategy? And nonprofits make the same mistake. So many nonprofits go under because
everyone does a brick and mortar. They spend $500,000 on a restaurant and then they don't market the restaurant the right way with the right crowd, right? It happens with brick and mortars, but it's funny, we see it in brick and mortars, but then when we build an app, we don't see it, right? We just expect that people should come through a website and you could go on a TV show and then all of a sudden like everyone down, like, no, that's not reality. Reality for most is reaching out to people and say, can you try out my platform and give me, feedback? Then the next is trying to build something to say, how am I going to get these 100 people I know to refer 2 people each, right? And then make it 300-400 people into the app.
Those are the best clients too.
And then compound it because they believe in the technology. But at the end of the day, most people don't have a roadmap. So going back to your original question, finance, right? And making sure when you start, going after an idea, it's like roadmap it out 3 years, see how much money you'll need each year. And if you don't have enough money, start early in working on your pitch deck and getting out in front of audiences and speaking to people like me, like you, and say, I think you should go to these type of events where there's money floating around for your concept, because not all places are the same, right? If you're pitching to the wrong investors all the time, you think it's you. What if I told you it's not? Those investors don't invest in your type of products, but they'll be happy to bash you, right? And that's another issue. It's just like you're putting a square in a round peg. It's like, no, like mobile apps, there's people that love them, but a lot of times they're just not in your area of the country, and you're just wasting your time and you feel defeated. And in my case, I just know how hard it is to raise capital. Just running an entrepreneurship show. My co-host teaches as a professor at FAU and also as part of FAU Tech Runway Incubator. And we just see the data. It's so low when it comes to apps raising capital. So I just said, hey, I'm doing this until I get to a further enough point where we have enough users, enough money being put into the app via credit card, via deposits, and just the amount of call volume before I want to even entertain investors. I'll let them knock on my door for now, but until that day comes where I feel that confidence, because I already know what they're going to say. They're going to see, what's your daily deposits? What's your daily user count? Like how many go into the app? How many calls? And ready? I want to get to the point where I want to flip it. I want to make sure that we get to the point where they look at us. It's like, it's not a matter of if they will invest. It's a matter of how much they will invest, right? And then I get the choice. I get the choice which investor I want to work with, right? Because the right investor makes a difference. A lot of people end up only getting one offer and they're stuck. And guess what? Those people have their thought process. There's greed involved, right? They're like, well, I want to sell this company in 5 years. They want to remove you as CEO. You lost your company, right? I don't want to lose my company. I want to be the founder of Owwll. I want to lead this community in the right direction and make impact to millions of people.
And that brings me to another question, because that's a really good point you're making. I was just about to ask this next question. It's a perfect segue. What is your feeling? Because you're very you're very wise in the financial industry. So what about investing? You're right. There is that piece that you may lose your company. What do you feel about business loans or grants for somebody small starting out that maybe said, well, I haven't saved in my 20s or 30s, so I need either investor or business loan. What say you about business loans or grants, things like that?
Yeah, and I love when people start business in their 20s. They could take all the risk, and they have little downside. They don't have a mortgage to pay for. They don't have kids' education. They're not losing, their family assets, right? So often people say, I'm going to do it once I get that. But then you get to a point in life when you have kids, and lots of times, like my friends right now, they're like, you can't fathom how I'm doing this. They're like, you have a family with 2 children. Like, how are you pulling this crap off right now? Right. And it's you work hard, you time management skills, but I believe in it so much. And when I look back at people in their 20s, right, they have the opportunity to fail. Actually, most successful entrepreneurs fail a few times in their 20s, and then they get success later in their 30s or 40s. Data shows. But pretty much the beauty is you don't have money, so you figure it out. Right? It's not like you raise capital, like, I'm going to do Facebook ads, Instagram ads. I'm going to hire someone. You know what happens to most people who end up raising capital for the first time? They actually do a very bad job of utilizing the money, and it's usually due to marketing. They market it and they blow money. I mean, let's just look at Clubhouse. They did fantastic with no money. The second they raised $100 million, the platform went down, not up with users, right?
Why?
I don't know if that exact science went down.
Why was that?
Well, they took the money and they hired it to market in the direction they thought it was going to go, right? What I believe is they went after something that people didn't want on the platform. They went after celebrities, right? And they had a whole unit they spent a lot of money on to get celebrities. Celebrities didn't take. And originally, the whole platform was designed for the everyday person. It was designed for all of us just enjoying communicating, which goes back to my answer, human connection.
Right.
I was able to go home on my drive for work, jump on Clubhouse, like, hey, what's going on? Like, and I just bump into people naturally, and it was fun. It was just fun. You just There was
Yeah.
they were just connecting with people on personal levels or for business. And I just feel like money sometimes, when you have it, you figure a way to spend it. So when you get capital raised, often then you don't have that bargaining. Like when you have no money, you're like, I need a bargain to figure out a deal, right? With
Right.
Owwll, if you even think about me, like I'm bargaining with brand ambassadors, affiliates. I'm figuring it out with no money. And everyone's like, how are you getting all these brand ambassadors to work with you? I'm like, well, we have a really creative structure. And it has a lot of upside, right? Very little money in the front end, and they know that. It's crystal clear. But they believe in the mission, they believe in me, and they see what it could be. And at the end of the day, a rising tide raises all boats. And I know that if the brand ambassadors all do everything together, the power of our community will skyrocket, because the mission and the impact is simple. So these early people just have to be more creative. If you're in your 20s with 20 grand and you need to build a product, you just got to figure it out with that limited capital. So I love when people have limited capital. They have to make it work. They have to figure a way how to make money. When you have a lot of capital, you know what it becomes? We have a lot of data, and one day that data will become money. So you just wait. Haven't you seen these platforms like, but how do they make money? Right? Isn't it crazy? You're like, they've been in business 3 years, and everyone it's the cool thing to do. Just build a platform with 100 million users and make no money, and then figure a way out to make. Like Facebook figured out how to make money, but there's very few brands that can survive that long without having traction.
Right. Their traction, they're also constantly reinventing, constantly changing with the times, constantly making it. If you can't stay stagnant, because the world's always changing, you got to keep up. So they spend, millions and billions on staying up with the tides, competing with what else is coming out there. They don't sit stagnant at all. And they changed the logo now. They're Meta. They're constantly moving up. But I'm going, because I don't want to run out of time without getting to this point.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
Here's what I want, and I know everybody that's listening, watching is going to want to know this. And you are a brilliant mind. You have this expertise that everybody is going to want to call you now. And if they don't, they should, to pick your brain, because obviously you're that missing piece that a lot of us are creative. We get the ideas. We know we want to change the world. I work with a lot of nonprofits. They have their mission. They have their cause. All that is the juices. That's the amazing part. But we need somebody in our life like you to say, gosh, if I could only pick Jason's brain. He's got the financial end. Look at that, what he just said. God, if I could only talk to Jason. And Jason has created this app where you can talk to Jason. So this ambassador, I got to tell you, this ambassador app, it's well thought out. It's not just, well, if you refer a friend, I give you $10. It's well thought out. What's in it for us as ambassadors or people that are going to refer? It's not just do it for me. It's here's what's in it for you as well. And here's more what's in it for you. You're really building the power of the people. And I always think of my age is going to show, the old Fabergé shampoo commercial, where I don't know if you remember, I'm older than you are, but it was like that woman with the beautiful hair. And if you tell two people, and those two people tell two people, and before you know it, the screen was filled with the same woman, all using this shampoo, the Fabergé. And that's what you do. We get excited. We're happy, but will we tell somebody about it? Maybe. But if there's a program and a plan and a system in place that motivates us, not just once in a while, but on a regular basis, to be part of a community of ambassadors, a community of people that refer, because it's more front and center of our mind. So I want you to tell the viewers and the listeners how they can get a hold of you, pick your brain, and what's in it for them if they decide to give the Owwll a try.
Yes, and our slogan is always, you could pick my brain after you pick your credit card method, right? Because at the end of the day, we have valuable knowledge, and time is limited. So the people who go in the app, I'm listed every single day. I go live. I'm $99, 10 minutes to chat with me. And then on Mentorship Mondays, I do drop my price to $1. I typically do it for a minimum of 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. And that's my way of giving back to others that just want the knowledge that I have. So pretty much calls come in quick. I usually limit those calls to 10 minutes each, so that way I could speak to multiple people at once, that time session. And pretty much, it's really simple. You download the app, you go to App Store, Google Play Store. It's owwll 𝐬𝐿. Ooh,
Oh,
you got a
I'm
missing L.
missing
You
an
got a
L in there.
missing L in there.
I do.
And that's because owls are
Let me fix that
wise,
right now.
and 2 L's because you're going to love it, of course. And,
I like that.
we have a really high score in the App Store of 4.7 with 71 reviews currently. And pretty much, it's really simple. You get in there when you use your code, Aurea, right? You're going to get $10 upon signing up. So make sure to use that code. And then what's really cool with that $10, you call one person for $10, or because we're new, we require new Owwll experts to charge $1 until they take 10 calls. So how cool is this? You could have 10 scheduled sessions technically with 10 different experts. Where else, can you have 10 meetings with experts that are top tier, because they're just trying to get away from, not away, but all these experts try to get past 10 calls so that way they could charge what they want. So the benefit is that we just keep seeing people going in and loving that they call these new Owwll experts.
And I love that part of it, Jason, because somebody like you, been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, you're really a high tier person. If you, like, let's say you weren't the founder of this, but you're on there and you're new, you have to take 10-minute calls for $1 for 10 minutes. So it doesn't matter how big a person is.
Doesn't matter.
So you get in there and you get those minutes in. Plus, though, you give free credits. Like, I know just by referring within my first 3-4 days, I had like $150 in credit that I needed to use. And it didn't cost me a dime.
Yes, we're incentivizing human connections, right? At the end of the day, when you refer a friend, right in the menu, every person gets a referral code. You receive $10. Uber does this, Lyft does this, right? It's the same concept. And it's a way for us as an app to reward people for referring friends. And you get $10 and then it expires within 30 days if you don't use it. So what does that do? You get $10. You're like, I'll call this person for $10. They look interesting. And what ends up happening, you're like, wow, I wouldn't have called someone, but I had $10 bonus in there and look what it created, right? It created opportunities. So what we're seeing is just this simple platform is like, we're forcing people to call one another because they don't want to lose the credit, the bonus in their account, and it creates opportunities. I've seen hundreds of people do podcasts together because naturally they talk and like, I have a podcast, you have a podcast, let's podcast swap. So it just ends up working out really well with these bonuses currently. We don't know how long we'll do the promotion for. Right now we're a new platform, so that's our way to give back to our early adopters, of course, and we'll do as a special promo for you. So for having me on this awesome podcast today, and also you have the best color tones of any podcast I've ever been on, because matching the Owwll ones like to the point. So we are, you matching digital backgrounds right here. It's pretty cool. What we're going to do is, because I really love that when people listen to this, they learned a lot from both of us. And what I want to do is take it a step further, right? So many people on podcasts and say, I wish I could talk to the people that I was just listening to. Well, now you can. You speak to Aurea. And what I'm going to do is, after you speak to her, a minimum 10-minute call, right? Whatever she's charging, I'm going to add $10 to your account just for calling her. And all you have to do is take a screenshot. You got the review at the end. Just take a screenshot of the review left for her, email it to our typical email, feedback@owwll.com. And I'll take it one step further. If you take that same post and say something that you learned about her and post it over on LinkedIn, that's where we're going to do it. Post what you learned from her from after speaking to her. Could have been a 10-minute call, could have been 30-minute call, could have been an hour call. And just share that golden nugget you learned from her, and we'll match it another $10. So right now you get $30 if you're new, $10 at sign up, $10 after calling you as a bonus, and then another $10 if you do a social post on LinkedIn. And of course, we'll put that on the bottom of this episode so everyone knows the rules. And then we will credit you in your account, and that bonus will be good for 30 days. So you get $30, you'll get 30 days to use it. Okay.
Jason, I love that. Thank you so much for doing that extra special. You are the best type of company founder, where you are finding creative ways to tap into happy clients, happy customers, giving them more. You're such a generous person. And, I did Mary Kay, and anybody knows, I did that for like almost 20 years and won pink Cadillacs and 8 company cars. And the one thing about her that you remind me of her is she always believed you can't outgive God. And the more you give your sales force, your people, your clients, the better the whole company does. And you have that attitude already. Like, what else can I do for you? How much more can I give you? Instead of it's me, me,
Yeah.
me, and just throw money
Yeah.
at it. And we've seen
Yeah,
some of the apps, go under because they just weren't thinking about what's in it for the user, and
Yeah.
you're like that from day one. And that's why I'm so excited to be working with you, to be able to become an ambassador for you as well, because I love the gift of talking. I love the gift of there is power. And I use this phone. And when I go on and I need to talk to an expert, I want to talk to somebody, the biggest block is, gosh, I don't want to bother somebody. Are they free? Are they doing something?
Yeah.
And you see that green light, ladies and gentlemen, it'll say live, which means call me. I'm available right now, or it wouldn't be green. And you'll see other people. Yeah, it's right there.
And you get a notification when the person you follow goes available. So the benefit of the app is if you have someone you're dying to speak to and they're not live, you get a notification when they go live. So
Yeah,
how
and you can
amazing is it? Like,
request for them
they're
to go
live.
live.
I could call them, or I could request them to go live, and it just cuts out all the time of scheduling. Absolutely.
It's really brilliant. I mean, when everybody goes on this, they see the brilliance and how you can meet new people. And I always believe the sky's the limit. You never know sometimes why you're calling somebody. Yeah. You can call, just say, hey, you looked interesting. And yeah. Jason, you took the biggest block, the biggest stumbling block. And I love talking about overcoming obstacles on this show. The biggest stumbling block is people hate to pick up that phone because the fear of picking it up, the fear of rejection, the fear of bothering somebody, the fear of, oh my gosh, you completely annihilate that. It's a fun interactive app. It is fun to use. It's kind of like gaming. You get 5-star reviews, and people are saying, here, call me, I'm free. And if they're not, oh, would you go free? And the minute they do go available, you get notification. And it brings us all back together again. What the pandemic tried to take away, Jason, almost single-handedly with your app that's not going anywhere. It's going all the way up. It's going to be so hugely more successful than ever before, because we are all really, really dying to have that human connection again. And you are making that possible in a friendly, non-fearful way. So as we have to close up, because we are out of time, tell us, and you talk to us just a little bit, what would you most want us to know? I'm going to put up, you do have a podcast. I love podcasters. You have the Shrimp Tank podcast, but I want you to talk to us about, in closing, in your final words, talk to the entrepreneur that needs to know you, that needs to know this app or your podcast, something about it, how you can help them. Give us a little bit of inspiration as we close up.
Yeah, that's great. And my back wall is all inspirational quotes, actually. So
all these are
signatures. I started a podcast when I left New York City in 2017. I got down to South Florida in the financial service business. Everyone then said I was crazy. Why are you leaving New York? You're doing successful. You have a team of 6 financial advisors. You're the founder of the firm. You're in your upper 20s. You're doing great. You're winning awards. And I said, well, I'm going to do it from Florida now, because I wanted to change my lifestyle for my family to be in a warm climate. As simple as that. I took the biggest leap then, and everyone thought I was nuts. And I started a podcast, and everyone said, Jason, you're nuts. Why are you doing a podcast? Like, people in financial services don't do that, And I said, well, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to interview entrepreneurs. And I just knocked on FAU's door. I said, hey, would you like to co-host the show? They're Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. They're like, you're paying for everything. Make it so easy for them. Make it hard for them to say no. And be a giver.
Tell the viewers what FAU is.
Florida Atlantic University, big university, about 30,000 undergrad students in Boca Raton, Florida. And really, they said yes. I landed them. I said, we're going to do it in my office. I'm going to build out a studio. And it's been phenomenal. We have over 260 shows today up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. But that's given me the power. It's given me the confidence. I've learned from the best entrepreneurs, literally. Like, I had Celsius Beverage on our show. I've watched Celsius skyrocket in the last 24 months. I had the original founder. That was my first episode. How cool is that? So, like, literally, it's just like knowledge is so powerful, but then execution, that's where people freeze. And I look at the people I've had on, I ask for help, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. Most people, if you just say, hey, I'm doing this, can you help me? They will, like, sure, I'll help you. They're all human. CEOs are freaking lonely people all the time. They're in their own little world. They can't talk to their employees, right? They just want to talk to other entrepreneurs. And when you say, hey, can you help me? You'd be shocked how many people be like, all of a sudden, they're so busy. It's like, they're not busy at all. They're willing to help. So my closing words is ask for help. from people you wouldn't expect, and most of them will say yes. If you're just so genuine and you're not looking for a sale, that's the problem. I was like, looking for help, but also, can you sponsor something?
Right.
I'm looking for help, but can you buy my product along the way? And that's where people get that, like, not another one. Like,
yeah,
they see through the bullshit. They see through it. And most people would be just generally like, hey, I'm struggling with my mobile app right now, marketing. Can you help me with a strategy? I want you to download it, go through the journey, and tell me what's missing. You're a smart individual. You built brands to hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what they do? They're going to download it, and they're going to give you feedback. They love sharing knowledge, and that's goes back to Mentorship Mondays, why we create it. There's so many people in their 60s, 70s have so much knowledge, and they have no platform to share it on.
Right. We love sharing.
They're not sharing on Facebook and Instagram, that crowd. Right. So at the end of the day, they go to local events, they share here and there, and they love it. They go to universities, but there's no platform to do it on a regular basis. So Mentorship Mondays is going to be that answer. That's my closing words. Ask for help.
I love that. And, you also are a poster child for why I teach on doing podcasting, because it's not always about just the edutainment that you do or the shows you do. It's about the cool people you meet that are your guests, and the cool we meet when you're a guest on somebody else's, and then that synergy can happen, and you never know who you're going to do business with. And Jason, you just took that podcasting, which I've loved for years now. I meet cool people like yourself, which we wouldn't have really, engaged like this unless I had a show for you to come on. Now we're talking. We can know each other even better. But you now with the Owwll app, people can do this every single day and have that phone call. It's your little mini 10-minute podcast with each other to get to know each other. It's so simple. It's so revolutionary. And I'm so excited about that, because when people get together and share ideas and just say, hey, you looked interesting. You do a podcast, I do a podcast. Or you're a financial advisor and I'm a mortgage broker. Or whatever, you're a massage therapist, I'm a beauty consultant. Whatever it is that you think it's cool to talk to them, you pick up the phone, and who knows the miracles that can happen, the collaboration. But you will never know unless you meet these really cool people.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows?
Just thought of that one on the spot. Who knows?
There's your next tagline. Jason, I want you to walk back over to that wall, and I want you to read me some of those things that are on that wall, because we can't read them. What is some of that inspiration over there? Tell us. Give us some of your best
on the other side of fear? Jump in even if the pool is empty.
Ooh.
Make today your best day. Faith, honesty, courage, integrity, the good Greek. Oh, big company, the good Greek, actually. Let's see. Keep the runway short. You miss 100% of the waves you don't surf.
Ooh, I like that one.
Without struggle, there's no success. Do or do not, there is no try. Time is the only thing you can control. Content is king. And what's crazy is I got a whole other wall you cannot see.
Who writes those? Are you writing, or people come over to your house? So
this podcast, The Shrimp Tank, went to about 90 episodes before COVID hit, and we moved it to the College of Business. So now guests come to the legit College of Business. And now we have the Owwll podcast, and I have a whole wall of 40 signatures now with the Owwll logo. You can't see it right now.
People that have been on your show that go and sign the wall.
Oh yeah, right after the show they come and sign the wall. So now we have 40 ones. My whole office is
great idea.
Autographs and motivational quotes. So when I have a day that's bad, I could just look up and be like, one says, get to work, be better than yesterday. Tim Wright from New England Patriots, who won a Super Bowl with them, wrote, in the pursuit you discover. And he wrote owling out. That was his term. Success is not owned, it's leased, but rent is due every day. So I just have hundreds now in my office. And imagine one day when we have 40 episodes on the Owwll podcast, then all of a sudden there's 500 episodes and there's 500. This office is going to be worth, something substantial one day when Owwll scales, and it's like this was the original studio, that
we're worth something.
Where it all went down. Yeah, we'll keep this a studio forever, because even if we outgrow it as a business, it's still an amazing studio, which is awesome.
Jason, you've been a pleasure. I'm so excited about your future. I'm so excited about your Owwll app and what you can do for others. My heart belongs to the entrepreneur, and anyone that I find that can help them better their lives, help them earn more so they can live more, so they can give back more. I introduce them to them. And today has been so special, Jason, with you. I hope everyone will take the time. They have nothing to lose but to go to the Owwll app and have a moment to be able to talk to people like yourself. And I love that you still are new enough that you call new members. So if you tap in, you join the Owwll app, you might get a phone call from Jason personally. And how cool is that? And I encourage you to tap his brain, because that's what it's for. It's to tap your brain, because it's who you know.
Who do you know?
Who do you know? Jason, thank you so much. We're going to have you back on in a couple of months. I'm going to have you back on and talk about what else you've been doing and how far you've gone, because I just see this going really, really fast. I want to keep up with you. So thank you for being on this show, Jason.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
You're amazing. All right, till next time on Get Celebritized. Get out there and earn more, live more, so you can give back more. And today, I'm going to say it. Join the Owwll app so you can reach out and meet the coolest people, and the coolest people can meet you. Until next time, this is Aurea. I'll see you then. Bye for now.
Peace.
Peace.